Hi, it's Taryn. Welcome back to The Blind Homemaker. Today we are making crackers from scratch, and you can do this with or without sourdough discard. So here I have some flour and I ground it myself. I know, you're shocked. I'm using soft white wheat here. But you can use whatever you like. I'm doing a bigger batch, so the ingredients I'm going to give you is for the single recipe, but I'm making a huge sheet of them. So my batch is going to be a little bit bigger. So you're going to start with 3 cups of flour, and now you're going to need a fat. So your fat needs to be solid at room temperature. So we're talking butter, lard, tallow, coconut oil. If you're using butter, what you're going to need to do is when it's cold, cut it into chunks. I'm going to use lard just because that's what I have more of right now is this pastured lard. So you are going to use half a cup of your fat. If you're watching at home, just remember that I'm doing a larger batch. So I'm just adding my fat to my flour. And by the way, my hands are clean. I did wash them, but I got an interesting bit of feedback from someone because my fingernail is black, my thumbnail is black, because I closed my thumb in the car door. So my hands are not dirty, I just have blood under my thumbnail. I know, it's so nice, but I felt like I had to say something because someone thought I wasn't washing my hands. I've got some lard on my fingers. Okay, what you're going to do once your fat is in your bowl is use a pastry blender or a fork. I like the pastry blenders just because they're more comfortable. So I'm just gonna blend my fat in with my flour. You wanna do this so that your crackers are flaky. I'm flinging stuff up, but that's okay. And the reason I wanted to figure out a good recipe for crackers is because of the terrible ingredients in store-bought crackers. I know my kids are so frustrated by it because they love crackers, but they have such horrible ingredients. Like Ritz crackers is one of the worst things that you can eat. Like it's just terrible for you. So I wanted to find a good cracker recipe that I felt good about. Okay, so I blended my fat into my flour. And what you're looking for is a wet sand consistency. And that's pretty much exactly what I have. So at this point, we are gonna add our salt and our seasonings. So you are going to need a half a teaspoon of salt. I'm going to measure with my heart. If you're using real salt, it is not unhealthy. And I am going to add about a 1/4 teaspoon of garlic powder. These are going to be savory crackers. I made some the other day for my girls. My husband too, he can have some too. But I made some the other day that were like graham crackers. So I added sugar and less salt and no garlic. Okay, so at this point, this is where the recipe is going to vary depending on if you are using sourdough discard or not. If you do not do the sourdough thing, that's totally fine. You're gonna use cold water at this point. But I do have sourdough discard, so that's what I'm gonna use. You're gonna need to grab yourself a spatula or a spoon, and you want to add a couple of tablespoons of your liquid, of your water or your sourdough discard at a time until this comes together as a dough, like in one big ball. You don't want it to be super wet, but you want it to be easy to work with. And I am using inactive starter because we're not using the sourdough starter as a leavening agent. We're just wanting to use up some of that discard. And if you wanted to fully ferment this cracker dough, you could just pop it in the fridge after you get a dough formed for a day or two. and it will ferment the entire batch. I am not doing that today, but I definitely can understand the health benefits of it, especially if you have anybody who's going to be enjoying your crackers who is gluten sensitive. So I'm just combining this all together. At some point you are going to need to get your hands in here, and that's what I'm doing. And I used all of my discard that I have, but I still need some more liquid, so I'm going to grab some water real quick. I have my water for my dough, but while I was getting it, our cat climbed up on top of the cabinet and she's watching. She's enjoying the video. Her name is Gertrude. She's actually joined the video multiple times before. All right, that looks like it may be the ticket. And I think I said this on my bread video, but in case you missed that, if you are using freshly ground flour, it does sometimes take a moment for the flour to soak up the liquid. So if you're having trouble getting the consistency right, then you may just need to let your dough sit for a minute. So I want this to come together. I'm gonna add a tiny bit more water. And the dough is going to be a very firm dough because it has such a high fat content. I know that it seems like making crackers is going to be super difficult. I waited a long time to try a recipe just thinking, oh my gosh, that sounds like it's gonna be a lot. And it is so easy. And I store them in a glass mason jar and they do go pretty quickly, especially, I mean, come on, if you make the sweet kind, it's like a graham cracker, like an animal cracker. They go by so fast. And my beautiful assistant, he is in the field. He's in the Army. So I have my other beautiful assistant, my daughter.
Beautifuler assistant?
Beautiful assistant.
No, beautifuler.
Oh, beautifulest assistant.
Yes.
Better?
Beautiful.
All right. So my dough has come all together. So it should have a smooth consistency all through it. And it should be a pretty dense dough. It should feel pretty dense. All right. Now, I have a cookie sheet lined with parchment paper. So I just plopped my dough on that. And this is the time-consuming part. Is what you're going to need to do is just press this dough out. You can use a rolling pin. However, my rolling pin does not really fit super well on my cookie sheet. So I am just going to spend some time spreading this all out. The funny thing is, my daughter, before we started, she's like, Mom, do you think you can get the crackers a little bit more thin? I was like, I don't know. I'll give it my best effort because this is what determines the thickness of your cracker, is how thin you can get it out on your cookie sheet. Just a little workout. And just try to make a square-ish chunk of dough. And you want to try to have the same thickness all the way through your crackers, because if you don't, they're not going to cook evenly, and you may have some areas that are browning faster than others. And you don't want to have to be digging out pieces from the middle when pieces on the end are still cooking. Nobody has time for that. We're talking easy. This is one of the things that I feel like blind and visually impaired people would excel on, because it's fully just touch, evening this dough out.
Just in case you don't believe Mom when she says that these crackers are good, they are very good.
Hey.
She is not biased.
No. And really, I'm not even a cracker girly. So I'm not going to be like, oh gosh, I need to go make some crackers. I could live the rest of my life never eating another cracker. But my husband and my children really enjoy crackers.
But I also feel like these are better than normal crackers because they don't taste like normal crackers. They kind of taste like bread in a way.
Kinda, yeah.
But in a good way, not in a bad way.
I would agree. And this isn't going to taste super sour because we didn't let the sourdough sit. So this is what we call a discard recipe. And I know I'm getting into sourdough and I said I wouldn't, but what gives that sour taste all the way through your product is when you allow it to long ferment or bulk ferment. But that's a conversation for a different episode. I just wanted to let anybody know in case they're like, ugh, sourdough crackers, it does not sound good. But I'll tell you what, at one point I was buying sourdough crackers from Jovial. The Jovial brand has sourdough crackers made with einkorn, which is a whole grain and ancient grain. Those crackers for a small little box were like $7. No ma'am, we're not doing that. Okay, I have this all flattened out, and this is what I call as good as it's gonna get. Could we have done better? Yeah, sure. My arms are tired. I worked out a lot this week. This is Cat Cam. She's acting like a gargoyle. She's sitting in my proofing basket just watching us make our crackers. Hi, Gertrude. Okay, back to the business of the matter. How we're going to cut these crackers is with a pizza cutter. If you saw my video making homemade lasagna with my homemade noodles, you will know how we're doing. I'm going to use my left hand as like a measuring implement, and I'm going to use my right hand to cut the dough. So what I'm doing is doing all of the vertical lines first, then I will come back and do the horizontal. And just cut them cracker size-ish. They taste good, nobody cares what size they are really. Is that true, Lily?
No, very true.
Okay.
If they're too big, you can always just break them.
There you go.
A big cracker never hurt nobody.
That's true. I think your sister likes the big crackers.
I think she likes to use them as like a flatbread, kind of.
Ooh, I like that.
She likes to put like stuff on top of it.
That does sound good, especially the sweet ones. If you do like Nutella or peanut butter.
Strawberries.
That does sound good.
We do not keep Nutella in our house. Don't get us fooled.
No, we don't, but you know, if you do, that's on you. Okay, so I did all of my cuts for my crackers. What I'm going to do is pop these in the oven at 350, and I'll tell you how long they bake and show you what they look like after. The crackers are finally finished. It took about 25 minutes, and I had to keep checking. How you know they're done is you choose a cracker in the middle and you just press down with your finger, and there should not be like any give. So I'm gonna let these cool and pull them off onto a plate, and that's it. Thank y'all so much for watching. Hey, do me a favor and subscribe, because like 99% of people who watch my videos are not subscribed, and that's just rude. So if you could subscribe, like, leave a comment, I would really appreciate it. And until next time, happy homemaking.